Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show y'all how to wire wrap one of these fused glass cabochons that we made in our home kiln. But you could use any cab that you already have, or maybe just a rock that you found. So let's go ahead and get started. So for this project, I'm going to be using 18 gauge and 26 gauge wire. You could use, I recommend having something thicker for the core wires and thinner for some coiling and weaving to kind of piece things together. This is just what I have. We do sell wire and cabs and stuff on our website, backtoearthcreations.com, or you can go directly to parawire.com because they have a much broader color selection than what we do. And they also have those really nice big spools that I like so much. Now today, I'm also going to be incorporating, and there's links to everything down in the video description, y'all. So, and this is just some ideas, so hopefully it'll spark some inspiration in you in your own crafting, and if I can be helpful to you or at least keep you company while you work, that'd make my day. But these are those lolly beads, and they're from like a 2mm to 6mm size. And then I also have some size 11 seed beads, and here I have a little pre-made like plated alloy bail, just because I don't feel like making a bail today, so I'm going to try incorporating that. I'm going to be using my wire snips, nylon jaw pliers, round nose and flat nose pliers. Again, links down in the video description. So to begin with, oh, also you may want like a pen or a knitting needle or like a stick mandrel or something. So I'm going to pull off 5 feet. I know it sounds like a lot, and it's just probably because it is, of our 18 gauge, but I like to give myself a lot of room to work. And, that way I don't have to be stingy. And this style of cab can eat up quite a bit of wire. So I'm lining up the ends and coming here to the center. And I am going to use the thicker side, not of my ring mandrel, but let's see. I'm actually going to use, a stick mandrel. I'm going to use a ring mandrel, and on about a size 4. And I'm just going to bring that through like this, and then twist 1, 2, and 3. So that's made one little lobe section, and I want these wires to be lined up the same as these ones, as opposed to being perpendicular or something. I want them to all be on the same plane. So I'm going to come now and I'm going to remove the first loop, and we're going to make another loop here on the size 4 on our ring mandrel, just so they're the same size. I'm going to twist once, twice, and thrice. Normally I do this like pulled away from my desk a little bit, but I'm trying to stay in frame, so I do apologize for all the wire scratching noises, but that's just part of it. And then let's do a third. I think I'm gonna do like 5, but we'll see. There's 1, 2, and 3. These do not have to be perfect or tidy or anything. These are very likely to just get completely covered by details that we add later. So I'm going to lift that off. I'm going to come again to the next segment. There's 1, 2, and 3. And so you can see we made this sort of chain, and you could use a thick marker or, whatever you have, because the goal here is this is going to make some really cool little lobes that we can shape around our cabochon. And see, if we bend one, then they all kind of bend in line with each other. And that's why I try to make them all on the same plane. That way we can use that to our benefit. So from here, I'm actually going to take this wire towards the front and off to the side. And then this wire here on the back side, I'm going to thread through our first loop. In the past, in other tutorials, we've got a lot of tutorials here on YouTube for free, y'all, and you can also find them on our website, backtoearthcreations.com. But we've done other tutorials where I do something similar to this, but I make a little wire bail first, and then I try to make sure that that's centered. Well, today, I'm just skipping that part, and we'll see if we can add in a pre-made bail. but I've just threaded through right there. And oh, I keep hitting everything. There's a lot of wire coming off of this. If you get a little overwhelmed by that, just kind of pull back away from your work surface, maybe work in the center of your room for a little bit until you get your bearing. But I am going to I want to smush this part on the side. I'm just going to smush it right up against my desk just to get it to sit a little closer to our stone. And I call it a stone. It is our homemade fused glass, but you might be using an actual gemstone or something made of polymer clay. I like having little bits of spaces there though, because it gives me places for the wire to grow. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So we could use a jump ring to go ahead and attach these two pieces together, but I'm going to wait to attach the bail until later. So from here, our stone is secured. You could use resin or something to adhere a brooch pin to the back of this, or you could use our thin wire, our 26 gauge, to attach the brooch pin, and then you don't have to worry about a bail at all. So from here, I want to just start building spirals. And just because I have beads next to me doesn't mean we have to use them. Though now would be the time, wouldn't it? I'm going to see if I can even fit these size 11 beads onto my 18 gauge wire, because if I can't, then that kind of nips that in the bud, doesn't it? Oh yeah, no, that's not fitting on there. That's okay. So we'll just stick to using our silver toned beads. So that'll be something that you do want to watch out for, is making sure that your beads actually fit on your wire. So here I keep the teeniest ones in their bag. And I'm going to see if these fit, which they might. Ooh, maybe? No, that one doesn't quite fit. Well, it looks like we'll be using the 3mm beads then. That's okay. I'd use a 20 gauge wire to wrap this too, but I'm all out, so here we are. So I'm just going to slide on that 3mm bead. Now also we could use, if we wanted to add in some pops of color, like a size 8 seed bead typically, in my experience, fits pretty well onto an 18 gauge wire. So I'm just going to slide that bead on there, and then we're going to come around and I'm going to press my finger on it to hold it in place as we just make a nice little twist. And when in doubt, squish it out. But we can shape this around, just building that wire around the bead. And then I'm going to have it swoop dramatically off to the side. Ooh, I like that. And so actually from here, now that I've gotten that segment, that's where I want that to go, I'm going to thread through that gap in our wire, just like that. And that way our wire will be like happy next to itself. And I'm just going to follow that vining of the coils and bring it around to here on the front. And I added a little bit of a training bend, that way the tension in the wire, it kind of just helps the wire to settle into that spot. I don't want there to be a little kink, so I'm going to keep that loop from closing up on me. There we go. And just pulling through. And you see how that just like settled into place? It doesn't always work out like that, but that's always my goal, is to get it to behave a little. And then from here, we can bring that up. Oh, I am loving this. And this isn't at all what I had originally imagined too. I thought I was going to be doing something with like just swirls and swirls and swirls around the edges, but I'm loving the just gentle waves of this wire. And so again, I'm going to come back in here and I'm just going to thread that through and pulling our wire, whoop, just like that. And then, yeah, I like them sitting next to each other like they're friends. And so then we're gonna, ooh, I don't think I'm going to twist up the side on this one. I think I'm going to leave that right there like that. And let's rotate around and visit the back and see what's up. Because something that we can go ahead and do here, and I'm actually going to snip. Let's see. I'm going to snip and give ourselves about an inch. And there's no such thing as scrap wire, you guys. If there's a crafter, there's a way. We can always figure out little projects to do with those extra bits of wire that we snip off. I'm going to come as close to the tip of the wire and as close to the tip of the pliers as I can. If you hear there's some construction going on the street outside, and if you hear like some clicking, that is actually our kiln where we have another batch of these cabochons going through a full fuse cycle. And we have a whole tutorial here on YouTube showing how we make these cabochons if you're interested in that process. But I'm just going to tighten up our spiral just a little bit. But it is a cacophonous day today, but that's all right. I'm just going to tuck that spiral nestled up there in the side, because we're going to keep adding little details and stuff. Like I'm probably going to end up using this wire to add in a little bit more here in a bit. And let's see, so we've got that. We could shape this around, and I do like to try to make the back beautiful too. You know, I don't want it to, I never feel like it's a waste of wire to put like a nice little swoop on the back too. So from here on the back, I'm going to decide where I want that bend to be, and I'm going to give it just a little bit of a training bend. And then I'm going to thread our wire through. Pull, pull, pull. Thump. See, it's just kind of there just because we can. Why not? And from here, we could choose, oh, I really like that. See how they cross over? I'm going to do that. Okay, so we're going to cross that over. And I don't know if I'd be able to replicate this, y'all, but I do want to share the video just because you never know what might be helpful to somebody else. And I do love getting to share making stuff. That's probably my favorite thing, is getting to just enjoy being crafty with other folks. All right, so from here, I am going to go ahead and make the little loop that we will be putting as putting our bail through. So it doesn't really matter which side is the front on this bail. Ooh, everything's so loud. I'm so sorry. And I just want it positioned in a way. And I'm going to use my bent nose or flat nose pliers for this. I'm just going to come in here, and then I'm going to bend straight up. Because we just want a nice little loop for that to hold on to. But it's driving me wild having all of these, this long unruly bit of wire. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and get this tidied up. I'm going to thread it through right there. It's coming through to the front. But so much of our channel over the past couple of years has been structured projects that have like kits and some different things. I'm actually going to grab with my pliers and just tug the heck out of that. There we go, just to get it through. But I wanted to delve more back into freeform pieces that even if I tried, I don't think I'd be able to do too the exact same way like this. But a lot of with wire wrapping for me is creative problem solving. And so hopefully I can be helpful to you in your creative problem solving. So I'm bringing this around. I did use my nylon jaw pliers to smooth that out just a little bit so it's a little stiffer, which just means I'm going to be a little more mindful with it as we come around, and we may put it behind our bail. What? Just because we can, really. And then do we want to come in between there? Ooh. I think this would be a great place to start incorporating some coiling. So I'm going to take our 26 gauge wire and I'm going to pull off 5 feet of it. And we're going to give it the old snip. And now on this loose end, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to close that just so I don't make messes any more than I have to. And I'm going to do 10 coils. Now we do have our whole wire wrapping masterclass for free. Like we don't charge for any of our tutorials at this time. So, and I don't plan to because, well, just cause. But we do have the kits and stuff if you enjoy our free tutorials and want to support what we do, but that's not at all necessary. But in this masterclass, we go over coiling and spirals and making your own clasps and ear wires and just the foundation techniques. That it's not all the foundation techniques, it's just as much as I could think to be like, if I could give you 7 lessons and you'll know everything that like if I could go back to younger me and give me these 7 lessons that I could then watch or read anybody's tutorial and be able to make, you know, something that looks like what they're making, like to understand the basics of wire wrapping. So that was the goal with those videos. So we go over how to do the coiling in there too. So hopefully that's helpful to y'all. But I'm going to slide that down all the way down to like, to like right here. I think I'm going to try to see if I can tuck that in between some. I just want to make sure it's positioned that the loose snipped end is not poking out and that it won't, I could wear this over like a knit top and it won't complicate or get snagged. So now I'm grabbing the end of our wire here and I'm just going to loop over or under like we're whip stitching. The wire is both the needle and the thread in this case. And I just want to pull all of our wire through. There we go. And this is going to kind of stabilize and ground things together. So there's one stitch, finding the end of our wire. And stitching whoop, right through like that. So there's 2 little coils around both. And now we can continue coiling if you like. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we can kind of squish everything together. I'd like a real nice, like, tight coil. Like, I don't want there to be a ton of space between everything. Okay, so I'm going to coil about another inch on, but I'm going to do this off camera just because I keep hitting everything and it's making me nuts. So I'll be right back, y'all. It's just occurred to me this is a great opportunity to share with you guys this method that I like to just kind of loosely spool up all of that extra tail wire. And now, whoop, it is so much easier to continue this coil pattern around. And I'm not bothering to count because I'm just kind of looking to see how does it look sitting. And I want to coil to like here. So I'm going to continue. You could use a Sharpie marker or something to mark your line if you really wanted to, you know, be particular, but I like to just go with the flow and just let it happen. I deviated into wire weaving and tried to be like very symmetrical and clean and tidy with my work, and I learned quite a bit, and I love everything that I learned, and I love everything that I've made, but I'm really feeling drawn back to embracing the chaos and the mess and just a little bit more of an unruly way of wire wrapping that when I start, I don't have a plan. And that's actually, I think, one of my favorite ways to wrap because there's no way to fail. You know, at a piece, it's like, oh, it didn't come out right, or that, you know, that's not as tidy as what it was supposed to, or nothing. It's we get to just make something. And that's what I'm craving today. So there we go. And then we'll whoop. Now, whenever I do a messy coil like that, you can see it doesn't smooth down as much. So if your coils aren't as smooth and tidy as what you would like, I would recommend trying to place each coil really close to where you want it to end up being. Okay, and so I'm going to snip that wire. Just because it's surprising how much the coiling, even with something as thin as our 26 gauge wire, can really bulk up an edge. So we've snipped it. I'm going to use my pliers to make sure that there's no pokey outy bit. There we go. Just smushing that down. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and open up our whole situation. And we could thread through on top, but I'm actually going to lift and try to enter through right there, kind of tucking in. And so again, it's a little tricky, but don't be afraid to strong arm it. So there's that. And I'd like to fill in a little bit more of this shoulder area. And I'm going to do that with some beads. And so I'm going to use our 3mm, and I'm just sliding them right on down. And then we can do a 4mm and a 5. And then I'm going to gradiate back down to a 4 and a 3. Oh my gosh, and that just worked out perfect. Like, do you see how it filled in that space so nicely? Oh, I love that. So from here, I'm gonna pull everything back just some. And I'm going to thread through right there. And we're going to pull our beads through, kind of encouraging the wire with my thumb. And I'm going to push that forward just a little bit. There we go. I'm going to push that forward just a little bit more to see if I like it. No, I like it a little more towards the back. But now from here, we can bend that down. And we don't have a whole lot, like there's no coiling on that right there. We totally could though. Let's do a little segment of coiling real quick. I thought I was going to do stuff out of frame, or not out of frame. I hope I don't do anything out of frame. I thought I was going to do stuff off camera to make the video go by a little faster, but I'd hate to leave out something that's of any use to someone else. And I'm going to use one of these flocked like felt sheets to like just make it be less noisy. So here we come. And I just grab a very little bit of wire, however much you need. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. And I'm just gonna bind down that little bit of wire here on the tail end, give it a squish. I like to use my pliers to just smush down that end. I kind of grip and then very gently just smush it down. Just like smearing it down. Alright, so there's that. And I'm just gonna, without counting, coil until I have about as much as I think I'll need. You could measure and stuff, but I'm not being super particular. And we can always slide it down. I like to work there at the end of my wire. That way I can come back up here and test it and be like, ah. And I really want that wire to just be nestled right there. So I'm not going to try to push my coiling back any farther than that. And I think I'm going to give it just a few more millimeters of coiling. And I'm going to snip this giving myself about an inch. And I'm going to snip here. Just trimming that off and down. But I'm on a quest here lately to take more joy in my work. You know, for so long I wanted to feel proud of my work, and now it's like, you know, I've had enough of that. I want to feel some joy in my work. And just let it be whatever it's going to be. So I'm going to bend this around just a little more until we feed it through right there. And I'm going to grab the end of it and guiding with my thumb because I want it to land in between that bead on the edge. So I'm just going to pull. Woo, we got lucky. There it goes. And then we can shift that around. And I'm going to snip, boop, right there. So there we did. That's a little bit of waste. A little bit of scrap. I save it all in a bin. We go to a scrap metal place that they give me an all right price for it. I get less on the enameled copper than what I do on bare copper, but that's all right. And now whenever I find myself looking at something with a critical eye, because it's a little crunchier here, like this curve isn't as smooth and as perfect as I would like, and that's that join. And then where I got a little lazy with my coiling, but that's okay, because I might notice those things and dislike them, but somebody else might think it just gives it the most perfect look. So I kind of want to make something that looks organic, but also like biomechanical. Oh, that would be so cool. Okay, so we could technically call it done, but I'd like to add the little bead pattern motif to each corner and do a little bit more like coiling and stuff. So from there, I think I'm going to take one of these sections of wire. This is about 14 inches long. And I'm going to take one of our 5mm beads. Ooh, I'm going to do a 3, a 5, and a 3. Just because these lolly beads, I love them. I get them on Amazon. They do great for me. Like they're exactly what I want them to do. They have such big holes, which is great, but like sometimes it's very obvious, like from the side. And so like you can see kind of from the side there how massive of a hole that has, which is great because I can use it on like up to 14 gauge wire. But if I just take a little 3mm bead or like a little seed bead or something, that'll fill it in really nicely. I'm using my fingers to keep the beads into place, and I'm just bringing this around until we have our little whoop, whoop, whoop. There we go. Trying. Sometimes I think I can like trick myself into doing it the way that I want it to be in my mind by doing sound effects, with varying results really, but so there we have a, you know, it's all right. It's not what I envisioned, but that's okay. It might be perfect. We'll see. I don't know if I hate it or not. You know what? It's fine. So now I'm going to take more of that 26 gauge wire and I'm going to hook through right where those wires crossed. Down to the halfway section, like the halfway on our thinner, our 26 gauge wire. And I'm going to do another little stitch. And then I'm going to do another little stitch, just trying to get them to sit nice and tidy next to each other. And then I'm going to flip it and I'm going to do 2 little stitches on the other side as well. So there is 1. And this is accomplishing a couple of things for me. It's going to help take up some of the space that would otherwise allow our small beads to shift around. And it's also rounding these wires together. So I don't have to worry about, you know, them splitting apart or something. Like this is now nicely attached. from here, I would like to line that up with the kind of like flat end, and I'm just going to sew through. And I usually like to do at least 2 stitches to bind pieces together, you know, to make it really feel like it's going to hold. But I'm going to go with 3 today, just because that feels like a nice round number. Just kind of whip stitching that around. So we've done those 3 stitches, and now before I go much farther at all, I do want to make sure that this is nice and centered up with our bail. There we go. So I just wiggled it over a bit, and now I'm going to do some coils to stabilize. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So there was somebody who was like going through and leaving comments on some of my videos, and I couldn't tell. It's really hard to read tone, so I couldn't tell if they were having a laugh or if they were being rude. So now I'm like super self-conscious of like counting, but I'm gonna try my best to let go of that, just because, you know, y'all clicked on my face. If you didn't want to be here, you know, click the thumbs down. Thank you for the engagement, and you know, go on about your day and go find something that does make you happy. But this is my creative space, and I like to get to share it with you guys, but I am going to do what makes me happy here. And counting to 10 over and over and over again apparently makes me really happy. So here we are. 1, 2, 3. I don't know why I'm counting. I'm just counting to be spiteful. So I'm going to coil until we get to where I can join it to that little spiral. And so just maybe zooming out just a little bit so you can see what it is that my hands are doing. Just how I turn, and sometimes I learned so much like in dance class just from watching the instructor move. So sometimes things that I don't know how to articulate, I hope I can express to you through what it is that my hands are doing. But I read a post on the internet the other day that so often as artists, we keep trying to improve our technique so that our work won't look like our work. I'm probably butchering it, but you know, it's that we run from the thing that makes our art unique, and that's our personal touch. And that's something like I realized that it's, you know, I always thought my work looked so messy and amateurish and like I wanted to do better. And as I started to get into wire weaving, and again, I'm very, very glad that I did, because it's a lot of fun. And I got to hone my skill on that and got to where I was satisfied with it, but I wasn't having fun with it the way that I have fun with making these messy, chaotic, amateurish, you know, I'm sure, you know, at least to my own eye, it just looks like, what am I even doing here? Like there's messy little details everywhere. It's a mess. Well, you know, that's life. So I'm just going to let it be what it is and enjoy it. But I'm going to stop trying to scrub out the parts of my art that make it my own, and just let myself craft. I don't know that I like that at all, but I'm going to trust the process. So now I've done those 3 binds. I'm going to zoom back in. And I'm going to finish this off with like just like 5 or 10. 3, 4, 5. Just so that, you know, there's less risk of it like pulling out or something. You know, I'm going to go ahead and do 10 because that'll bring the loose end around a little more. There we go. So I'm going to give it that snip with the flat side of my flush cutters. I love these things. I'm actually going to grab my bent nose pliers. I don't know why I didn't grab these initially. These are like my favorite for squishing in that little loose end, just because I can still see what it is that I'm doing, and it's a nice comfortable hand position. And so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to thread through right there. And I don't want to cover up too much of the stone, but I really love the way these little, like, curly, oh, yes. I love that. Okay. So I'm going to feed this down through there, just having it kind of frame that spiral. And I'm going to let it distort our edge here, because that's really just given us a frame that we can now grow more spirals and curves and things onto. Okay, so there's that. Let's grab a 3mm bead. There we go. And I'm going to slide that onto our wire. And then I'm going to make a little, wherever you want the center of your spiral to be, that's where I'm going to try to hold my bead at. And I use my thumbnail to kind of make a little bend to try to struggle. And if it's kind of like herding cats, like they're not really going to go in the direction that you're trying to lure the bead to where I want it to be by having that little bend there. But again, just trust the process. It doesn't have to be perfect. We'll figure it out. And building that wire up around. And once more, and then up through here. I'm going to grab the end of that wire with my pliers. And again, this is a great instance to do a little bit of like a training bend. Just that little bend that we put in the wire right there. I'm going to grab here and I'm going to tug. And then you can kind of even cinch it. Ooh, there we go. Oh, I love it. Now what do we do from here? Do we snip it? Maybe. That is always an option. We could leave it and just have this wild wire sticking out the side. Not for like ever, but just until we decide. And so from here we have those two connecting. So now I'm going to do 3 stitches on this side. So there's 1. Sewing through the back, and I do want to make sure that I'm putting my wires, just stacking them next to each other. There we go. But really, you could bunch them and knot them all over each other. That's perfectly fine. If it looks like how you want it to look, and if you're having fun doing it, and it holds together without being painful to wear, then you did it correctly. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Okay, so we're gonna, I'm gonna show y'all a trick. So I demonstrated this years ago here on our YouTube channel, but this is a perfect opportunity to use it. So we've got this last little bit of wire, and we've got this longer section to hold on to. And instead of sitting here and going like this, trying to make the coil around, I'm going to hold on to this bit of wire that we have protruding out, and I'm just corkscrewing it. If the weight were offset enough, I could just, there we go, okay. Yeah, you just spin it, and it's just eating up the wire, pulling it into that little spiral. So again, if I had enough, the more we do, oh, but it got tangled on itself. We gotta be careful. But it's like putting the coiling into fast forward, you guys. Watch your eyeballs. You don't want to tangle up that loose end, so you can actually hold on to it and kind of angle it down just a little. So let me show you. Let's flip this back around so you can get an up close look to see some of the troubleshooting that comes from fast forwarding. But we just did like a whole bunch, and it was fun instead of feeling like more coiling. Okay, so here you can see some of the gaps in the coiling and stuff. That's okay. We can just smush it on down. And whenever my coiling is very uneven, I'll just hold it very firmly with my fingertips on a bit of the coil and that kind of tightens things up. But yeah, here's a great example of just going like this, just minimizing the effort, and we can even spin, 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 spin. Whoop, it's a little sharp when it gets there to the end, so be careful. I really hope I needed all of that coiled. I got a little carried away. But this is part of the chaos. I felt like doing that, so I did. And now we're going to take this. I'm going to keep smushing that end down though, just because I have no idea where it's going to end up, so I want to make sure that it is very nice and burnished down. And that way we can feel there's no pokey bits. Very good. Oh, it actually twisted some off. Well, hey, still did the trick though. So now I'm going to build this around our little weird end here. And I think, can I fit this through right there? I don't know that I can, but I'm going to try. So I've grabbed it with my pliers and I'm escorting it through with my thumb. Well, it's not fitting. Ruh-roh. That's okay, because we can try to make it with our round nose pliers. Just try to enlarge that gap. I would not do this if I were working with a softer stone. Like, I'd be worried about scratching it or cracking it, but with this glass it can put up with so much. Oh, there we go. Oh, no, I pulled it down way too hard. That's pretty, though. What a nice little loop-de-loop. Maybe we can back it up. So just pushing it back through. And then we'll go like that. It's very lumpy and weird. Me too, pendant. Me too. There we are. And now from here, we can perhaps come around. And if your coiling isn't quite enough, well, we can just take it and spread it just a little and make it last. As we get to this side here, and now I'm going to thread through just right here. No, I'm going to thread through down below. There we go. Swamp. I want to make sure no pokey bits. Yeah, I just thought it might look cool to have a little like more of the coiling and to really exaggerate the length of the piece, like to lean into a nice long pendant. And now from here, I'm going to do that same gradient with the beads. We may need to do, I'm going to do like one more loop through right here. There we go. And I'm going to kind of get it shaped around just to make sure everything's going to nestle more or less where we want it to. Here's 1, 2, 3. Well, we did a 3mm, 4mm, 5, and now we're going to go back down to a 4mm and then back down to a 3mm. And that just fills it in so nice, you guys. Oh, that pleases me immensely. And so from here, where am I going to go? Well, we could, I'm going to close this so I don't make a mess. I'm going to take our pliers and I'm going to give us a little bit of that training bend. And I am going to hook through this wire on the back. I want to keep my beads on there. If you had a bead with a smaller hole, you wouldn't have to worry about them climbing up over the curve like that. But that's okay. Once we get this part done. There we go. So I'm just poking that through, and I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to poke that bead till it's out of the way again. Pushing my finger on that bend, we can now kind of just cinch this up and in. And now that's nice and stabilized around. And I'm going to use my flush cutters to really get in there and snip so that that end is just like that. And now we can use our pliers, I like my bent nose for this, to just tuck that end like it's a butted loop. Like a little loop on like a bead link or something. That'll be a nice little necklace to fidget with or fiddle with too. And so from here, I think I'm going to bring this around once more to the front. Our little wild wire coming out the end there. Cinching that around just a bit. Do I want to add another bead and have some elements of asymmetry? Yeah, probably. Or we could just do another spiral. Let's just do another spiral. I'm going to give myself about 1.25 inches. Yes, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try something and have it be less than perfect. Make something messy on purpose. Like a tangle of weedy vines out in the garden. I understand that's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's mine today. And just because something isn't my cup of tea, or something, you know, if what I'm doing isn't your cup of tea, that's okay. This is my cup, I brewed it for me. But maybe you can find, sometimes knowing what you don't like is just as valuable as knowing what you do. So if you don't care for this style of wire wrapping, well, now you know. And I've just smushed that around. When in doubt, smush it out. I'm going to test and make sure that it lays comfortably. Because I kind of want to use this last bit of wire to do, I think I'm going to make a coil, like a little coiled spiral. So as close to the tip of the wire and as close to the tip of the pliers as I can. And bringing that in. Oh, I really like that. And then I'm gripping. You could use your nylon jaw pliers for this. But I just want to grip and get our little spiral there. And I actually am going to use my nylon jaw to just give it a little bit of a squeeze to try to work harden it. And now I'm going to thread this through, just right through there. And then we're going to pull that in. There we go. And I'm going to shape that around. And then I'm going to take this end and I'm going to feed it through right there. And we're just going to have a nice lazy little twist around our beads that were coming through. And then we can do a little bend up on this side. It's a fun little wavy bit. And then I'm going to bring that back just a smidge because I want to feed this wire through right there. It's just anywhere that I see little openings, and I like to just vine the wire, literally like layers of vining until I'm happy. So, and that's all right. And then, yeah, I like pushing that in just a little. I'm going to come around to here. I've got a little bit of that training bend, but I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to go through this gap. Oh, that's all goobered up. That's all right. Maybe instead, oh, that's nice. So yeah, sometimes the thing that I thought I wanted, if I'd gotten real hung up on being like, no, I wanted that to be right there, I'd be missing out on this right here. And I'm just going to make a little spiral as a peeky for the back. Like I'm smushing it so it's more from the back side. And then I'm going to open that up just a bit so that we can bring this now to the front. I'm going to grab it with my pliers, supporting that spiral with my thumb, whoop, just like that. Do not underestimate the power of sound effects, you guys. It like 60% of the time, it works every time. I'm going to do one more spiral, or one more loop, just like that. And now, what are we going to do? Do I want to put a bead down there? Yeah. I'm going to grab another 3mm bead. And I'm just going to let it lay where it lands and just build a little coiled spiral around that. I don't know if you can hear my wrists popping. That's all right though, but I'm going to need to take a break after this. That's all right. And then I don't think I can get another. Oh, I was wrong. I didn't think I could cram another wire through there, but here we are. So I'm going to grab that with my pliers and I'm just going to pull that on through. And then we can always try to like tweak it a little. I don't want to chew my wire up with my pliers, but I did want to make sure that that comes through nicely. And then I'm going to build a little whoop around it, whatever that means. And then I'm going to put a finishing spiral right here. And so I'm just going to snip, giving myself about that much space. I don't know, like you can always trim some more off. I just wanted to share the process with you guys. I cannot wrap your piece for you. You're going to have to take some risks, but you'll do great. I promise you'll do great. If you keep at it, practice makes progress. Oh, I just love it. I don't know if I could recreate it exactly like this if somebody gave me a pile of money, all the time in the world, and this video. But that's not the point. The techniques, the fun, like all that. Hopefully that's helpful to y'all, because truly, you guys, at the end of the day, the difference between joy and a job is the why. But at the end of the day, you know, when this piece is sold, which we do sell them on our website, backtoearthcreations.com, whether it's off of our website or out of our booth, when the art itself is sold and the money is spent on bills or food or whatever, it's the joy that I got out of making the piece that is going to last. And so that's what I'm seeking in my work, and that's what I'm hoping to get to share with y'all. So this is it from the front. And that's it from the back. If I had any concerns about this popping out, like if I pushed real hard, I could distort the frame. So if you're worried about that, I'm just going to take my pliers and kind of push in just a little bit more, just to try to help that be holding on. But I'm not worried about the stone coming out on this. The 18 gauge wire is quite robust. There's a lot of layering here. And I'm very, very pleased. Hey you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me during this video. I really hope that it was helpful to you. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas for future tutorials, go ahead and leave them down below. I do love hearing from you guys. We also, I've got like a chain. I get some chains from like Panda Haul, which we do some periodic like unboxing and stuff of like the different materials that we buy, but these stainless steel spiral chains fit right through that bail just perfectly. And so let's actually see. I'm going to take off this one, which is a really fun almanite, which we actually did as one of our craft along projects. But yeah, so that's an example of like the wire weaving that I really wanted to learn how to do, but I have so much fun doing this style though, you guys. Oh, that's so pretty. Okay, so it's a lobster claw stainless steel clasp. I'll have these linked down below too. But, oh, let me fix my top so that, oh, I just love it. Okay. All right. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really hope that this was helpful to you in some way. Let me know how you're doing down in the comments, and there might be some other videos popping up on the screen right now for you to go watch. I will see you there. Until then, you guys, happy crafting. Mwah. Bye.